Hello everybody and welcome to another Marvelous Ramble video. It's I, the Marvelous Iggy, and I wanted to talk about something that's not game related this time around. With it being the 35th anniversary, I wanted to talk about The Legend of Zelda, specifically its music. I wanted to do something for the 35th anniversary because I don't really have plans of what I want to talk about, but I figured this is going to be the closest I'll have a plan to. So, this is not going to be like a top 10 or anything like that. This is just going to be sort of me talking about a couple of my favorite tracks in the Zelda series. Most of them are from the 3D era just because that's where most, that's what I grew up on. As much as I love, like, A Link to the Past, not really a lot of songs I would say I love all that much in comparison to others. But I guess I should start with my music history first because... And I don't really talk about my music tastes on social media. I find it difficult to talk about music sometimes, which is odd when I'm making this video. But my taste in music has been a little bit different since I was growing up. So most people, you grow up, you're listening to your typical pop music, whatever's popular at the time, and stuff like that. For me, while that is true to a degree, like I listened to what was popular and listened to what was in the house, thanks to my dad mostly, a lot of the music I ended up liking growing up was music soundtracks, original soundtracks. And it's because he loved them. Like he would tell me stories that he would buy like full albums of like Batman '89 and stuff like that, and he would ride his bike home with him or something like that. And that kind of influenced me there. And it kind of, instead of like steering me towards liking either rap or rock and roll or, country, I'm sorry for laughing at that one. It's made me love more instrumental pieces more than anything else. Or classical orchestral music or stuff that emulates it, rather, since a lot of Zelda music isn't exactly using orchestral instruments. It's more of emulating the idea. And that's sort of where I think it all started for me. And I think sort of my musical taste kind of got solidified when I saw Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and you hear that music for the first time. Like, whoa, what is this? And so I guess I'll start with talking some... So that's where my musical taste starts. I tend to like more instrumental, non-vocal. Not that I don't love vocals, but... I love a beautiful voice when I hear it, but I think I tend to lean towards more instrumental stuff more than anything else. But let's sort of talk about some of the music that I like to listen to, or some of my favorite Zelda tracks. So, I think my favorite track of all time, this doesn't mean it's number one, but it's definitely a one that I come back to a lot, and it's a very simple one, but I absolutely love listening to Zelda's Lullaby. It is such a simple track. Not that many notes. I apologize for trying to, emulate kind of something, but and oddly enough, the first time I heard the soundtrack was Ocarina of Time, but I don't think that's where it like resonated with me as much. And I think when I fully started to appreciate the song is funny enough, is everybody's most hated Zelda game seamlessly, which is Skyward Sword. There's a scene between Zelda and Link that basically this theme plays underneath, and it's the most gut-wrenching part of the song, but of the scene rather, of the whole game, but yet it's oddly comforting, and that's how I would describe Zelda's Lullaby. It's comforting. It's a lullaby. It's meant to make you feel safe. I didn't get sung lullabies as a kid, or at least I don't remember them. It's not something that I knew growing up, or my dad. I'm too little to remember. But Zelda's Lullaby to me is like that blanket when you come home. It's cold outside, and you just wrap yourself in it. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel like there's no matter what's going on, it's gonna be okay. It has that soft tenderness to it. I apologize, I'm not using musical terms because I'm not going to be stupid enough to try because I'm not a musical expert. So I'm only going off what I feel. And I just love listening to it. In fact, it kind of reignited my passion for this song when I was playing Hyrule Warriors recently, and there's a character, a little robot who's in there. You've probably seen him in the box art. Zelda's having a moment of crisis with her, and to calm her down, he plays a version. He plays Zelda's Lullaby, and it's just like, oh, it's just so It's like heartwarming, not heart wrenching. And that's why I like this song. Anytime like I feel down, anytime I feel any kind of stress, I tend to want to play this song. It just makes me feel okay. It makes me feel like the bad things are out there, but you're okay here. You're fine. You survived. And I played it a lot last year. I won't lie and say that it was a big motivator into why I'm still on this earth, honestly. I apologize for getting a little dark there, but it's true. There was a point last year where like I didn't want to be here anymore, but this song really helped a lot. It's a beautiful track. Zelda isn't exactly known for having the most complex music, but sometimes complex is nice, and when you can weave things together, it's awesome. But sometimes it's the simple pieces of music that you come back to that give you that warm, fuzzy feeling. That inspire you to do things. And speaking of inspiring things, I'm a huge romance fan. And one of my and I love watching romance anime. I love everything romance. And while, again, talking about Skyward Sword again, Skyward Sword gets a lot of shit, but the one thing it gets right is its music. And I think the best song from that game, but that's original, is Romance in the Sky. I love this track so much. To me, it sounds like it's spring. It's the song of spring if Zelda had seasons. I'm pretty sure Zelda has seasons. There's a game called Oracle of Seasons, so I'm assuming it has seasons. But like, it's that warm, fuzzy feeling. You know, when you're a teenager or a young adult, when you're with your partner and you just want to be with them, or your friend and you just want to be with them, and you're in love or you love each other platonically. It's again similar to Zelda's Lullaby. It's a warm, fuzzy blanket, but except you're not alone this time. You're with somebody, and you're either like playing a game together, frolicking in the fields, or something. But it just stokes good memories and good passion, you know. And who knows? Maybe it leads to something more. It also symbolizes like young love. Like obviously the song "Romance in the Sky" is because of Zelda and Link's special relationship in that game, and I think this song adds to it. And while obviously my love life hasn't exactly been great, it doesn't matter. This song still makes me feel so good. It warms my heart when I hear it, and it doesn't sound like typical Zelda music. I feel like the team behind it, I think it was Koji Kondo who composed Skyward Sword. He stepped out of his wheelhouse a little bit, and like it feels very different. Like if you listen to it amongst the other tracks in the game, it doesn't seem to fit, but to me it's the whimsicalness of it all that makes it come together. And honestly, that's why I love it. I wish it was heard more, honestly, and that you really only hear it at the beginning of the game. But you know what you can do. I really wanted it to come back in Breath of the Wild, which game doesn't have any music. But man, I just love the feeling it gives me. You're gonna see a common theme with these songs, but to kind of detract from that common theme, one other song that I really liked from Skyward Sword was Ballad of the Goddess. Just because it starts off very somber, very like respectful, paying respect to the gods, or I guess in this case the goddess Hylia. And while I'm not a church person, I haven't been like a person of faith for like almost 10 years, 12 years now. I won't lie and say that the music isn't good, and like there's something very powerful about singing to the gods, right? There's something very powerful to that. And And especially true to when the instrumental part kicks in, when it starts ramping up. Like, I typically don't like a lot of the action music that Zelda has, whether it's boss music or, you know, final boss music. A lot of it doesn't really stick with me. It kind of just fades out. But, like, this is the one piece of epic music, because it's a culmination of the Zelda franchise up at that point. Like, it just feels so triumphant. Like, yes, I will be the hero of the sky, or whatever. Like, I kind of wish they would have transitioned this theme to, like, in Breath of the Wild. Like, it would have been so perfect. But, like, and yeah, I think it's like a redone version of, like, another version of another song. I don't really remember, but to me, it sounds all original. It sounds all original, and I just love how heroic it makes me feel, and especially in this day and age where, God, it's hard to find any kind of sense of heroism where a lot of people are looking out for their own selves, and it's like, where's our heroes? And this kind of makes me feel like that. It makes me feel like I can stand up to anything. But going back to some more somber stuff, this is probably one of the few 2D songs that I like. And I didn't play this game growing up, but one of my favorite pieces of music is the Ballad of the Windfish from Link's Awakening. I did not grow up with Link's Awakening. I'm pretty sure we had it as a family. I remember seeing the black cartridge, but I never played it because I thought I could never beat it. And I didn't really play it until like 2014 maybe, when I bought it for the 3DS. And number one, that game is amazing for what it does and how unconventional of a Zelda game it is. But man, especially when you learn about it, like what you're trying to do in that game, and I won't give it away, but I will say this: it's very sad, it's very tragic, and this song kind of encompasses that idea of saying goodbye and, you know, waking up from a dream. It's oddly lonely, but also, like, you know, yeah, they're dreams, but they're your dreams. They're with you forever, no matter what. And I find something warm about that. Like it's not tangible. It was never tangible, but you can always reach it. And I don't know what else to say about it. Like, it's such a beautiful piece of music. Especially, I love that the whole game is centered around you collecting these instruments to play this song for the Windfish. Like, it's such a cool idea. And you can see, like, I think it's Link's Awakening that kind of inspired the Zelda team to make things more about the music. Because if you notice, and you probably have, you know, Skyward Sword or Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Skyward Sword, all of the 3D games really put an emphasis on music, where either your sense of, like, the ocarina, all the instruments you have in Majora's Mask, the wolf howls in Twilight Princess, obviously, of course, the harp in Skyward Sword. Breath of the Wild doesn't really have that, unfortunately, which is really sad. But I feel like this is the genesis of it, of making music a bigger part of the Zelda universe, and it's a great start. It's a good genesis, because prior to that, not to say that Zelda music prior to this was bad or anything, but it's just this music just hits, just plays it perfectly. It conveys so much emotion, whether you're hearing it in the 8-bit, you know, the chiptune 3DS version, or if you're hearing it in the remake on the Switch version. I think that's a testament to its strength. But sticking with sort of sad feelings, another 3D game that I didn't play up until recently, which was Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask, a whole game about the concept of letting go, the concept of you can't save everyone. You could try as hard as you want. You can't be there for everybody. And I honestly did not play the game as a kid. I think I might have tried it and I got scared because of, you know, the moon. And while Majora's Mask has a lot of great tracks, there's it's probably one of the better Zelda soundtracks around. But when I think of one song from that soundtrack that will ever stick with me and like hit me with an emotional moment, you guys know I'm an emotional person. It's when I was playing the 3DS version and you go to Akana Valley for the first time, and you find this weird house this little girl keeps acting in your house. You go into the house and you see her dad is like a zombie thing, and you're not really sure what it was, but it freaks her out until you play the Song of Healing to basically cure these people. You play the Song of Healing to basically help most of the time help these individuals pass on to the next life, and it's like very somber, very quiet. It's almost unsettling, and I think that really fits with the game. You know, like there's a tinge of like happiness because the person can move on in peace, and I think that's the you know, I'm being like a lot like I'm Hispanic. I know some cultures don't always see this way, but like for us, a funeral isn't something to be sad about. At least it shouldn't be. I mean, you're gonna feel sad. It's not a good time. But what it is also, it's a celebration of life. It's a time of remembrance, and you know, for us, we gather around, we cook food, we talk about what they did, how they felt, what they meant to us. It's not about the fact, and for us, like, they're not really gone. They're gone physically, but you can never erase that person from your heart. And I think this song kind of symbolizes that. It kind of perfectly captures that sense of loss, of saying goodbye, but also that sense of hope that they're in a better place, and it's okay. It's okay to mourn. But know that they're in a better place, and eventually you will be too. And yeah, that hole in your heart isn't going to get filled up for a long time. It may never get filled up, but that's okay. Take your time. There's nothing wrong with that. In a game where like that, a lot of the theming is that, right? Acceptance of death, acceptance of what you are, acceptance of the world around you. I honestly think it's one of the better songs in the Zelda series because of that. Now, if we're going to talk about sort of like the opposite, whenever you listen to music, sometimes you describe objects of things. Sometimes you describe, like, it makes you think of certain things. And I've sorry said this, but this is arguably another one of my favorite tracks, and it's not the N64 Ocarina of Time version, but I love the Serenade of Water in Twilight Princess, or in that game, I think it's Queen Ratella's theme. I remember I didn't play Twilight Princess when it first came out, but I played it years afterwards, and I was so surprised when I heard it. And I love what they did with that version. Like, there's a little guitar, cause like you can hear guitar going. It's so serene. It literally reminds, like, it gives me the feeling, like, if I close my eyes, which I'm doing right now, you can't tell, but I'm doing that right now, that I'm looking at a big open lake. I'm looking at a big lake, and it's serene. It's calm. It's like a safe space. You know, it's like, you know, if anything, you could describe this as the Song of the Sea for me. You know, where, like, I know the sea is a dangerous place, but like when I look at it, or I look at pictures or look at videos, it just looks calm. It looks inviting. It's a sense of serenity that sometimes you don't always get every day. And sometimes you need a little bit of help to transport yourself, especially in today's world. You need a little bit of help transporting yourself to these places. But all in all, I think you can kind of see where, like, my Zelda spectrum runs. I tend to lean towards music that makes me feel good. I tend to move away from the action bits. There are fine pieces. They're really fine pieces. They're really well orchestrated. But the pieces that stick with me are the pieces that are like very emotional driven, very character driven, very that paint a picture. You know, like I don't know if I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that with music. I'm sure I have, but whenever I listen to an instrumental song, whether it's like video game music or orchestral, I close my eyes, and I usually, if it's resonate with me, I can usually visualize something, what it's trying to tell me. And this last piece of music is not technically a Zelda song because it's made by a third party, but I wanted to include it on here because, God, it's so beautiful. This last piece is from Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. It plays after you've beaten Calamity again in that game, and I won't spoil it. But the reason I want to put it on there is because it's possibly the most serene music I've heard in a Zelda game, whether it's spin-off or main game otherwise. And if I had to describe it in any kind of way, how, like, especially in today's circumstances, it's the song after the storm. Not the Song of Storms, but it's the song once the storm is gone. We've all been there, right? Like, it's a terrible storm, and your power's out. You don't know if you're going to be around the next day. You're worried, you're scared. What's going to happen? Uncertainty. It's terrifying. That gut feeling, it eats you up. Anxiety eats you up. And then you go to sleep. You manage to go to sleep. And you open your eyes. The sky's sunny. Birds are chirping. The air feels good. It's just, it's the song that and then you hear a song in your head. The storm has passed. You're still here. You outlasted the storm. And that is the best part of it. And I've been listening to this one a lot recently, but God, I'm listening to it right now as I record this, so I apologize, but like I played this song after certain events happened this past year. I won't get into it just because this isn't the time for that, but man, I did not expect this. Like you know, I heard other music in Hyrule and Age of Calamity. That was cool. That was great. But like this, just it just had that extra spice of emotion that I need. Like you know that like I think everybody kind of has that moment whenever you beat a game that you just you love, and you just sit there afterwards. And like sometimes it's like a title screen. There's not really much to see, but this music plays, and it's just, I did it. I said it's on the Charged Shot Gamescast, our Game of the Year edition, and like I played this. I listened to the song a lot because like it makes you feel like I did something that in a year where things are horrible, I did everything I could to make it somewhat tolerable for other people, and I tried to make a difference. That in this game, even though it's so stupid and minuscule to think about, I made a difference. And while the storm is far from over, we're still gonna be here. In one form or another, we'll still be here. And I hope you're still here too. Thank you for watching this video. I had a lot of fun making it. Let me know what some of your favorite Zelda soundtracks are, and if you have any predictions for Zelda 35. I won't get into that here, but I'm curious to what you guys think. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time. And no matter what, stay marvelous. Have a good night, everybody.